Hi, I'm your host Nick Scholes from BambooHR. We're going to do things a little differently in this module. Let me introduce you to Jake Alsop, the Director of Recruitment and Hiring at Community Counseling Center, which helps people who struggle with behavioral issues, mental illness, and substance use disorders. In a recent chat with BambooHR's Mike Taylor, Jake shared a wealth of insights from his AI and automation journey. We're fast-forwarding to how he partnered with AI to boost his efficiency.
People are going to love this next section because we're going to talk about the automations that you're doing outside of BambooHR. So we've looked at inside. Now we're going to take a little step outside.
Yeah, let's take a look. So this is the very first automation that I created. So I will say this took a good amount of trial and error on my end before I really found out what worked for me. So yeah, want to talk about 30-day evals. It's always important to get this, the snapshot of how a new employee is doing. We put so much attention and focus on recruiting. We also need to retain those staff and ensure that they have the best experience too. So we wanted to do a 30-day eval. Now, what you see here on the left, that is our original form. This was triggered through BambooHR. It was set up as an e-signature document. And this was prior to some of those onboarding updates that Bamboo has. Whenever I first set up this form, this is before we could send out a task notification on the day it was due versus immediately with that new hire packet. And because I couldn't put that date for when this was sent, I had to manually send out these 30-day evals. So not only did I hire anywhere from 4 to 10 individuals every single week and have them do orientation, I had to ensure that I was actually sending these out by that 30-day time frame. And that means setting up an email alert in Bamboo to remind me when a new hire hits their 30-day eval. So still have a little bit of that Bamboo automation in there. But in all reality, it was remembering to go in and after I've sent it, to review that information, send it over to the individuals who needed to have it. So that could be our CEO, to the supervisor's supervisor, talking with that staff member. And then there was the reporting that's involved with 30-day evals. If you don't do anything with the data, well, that's not really helpful. So I did have to go in and manually analyze each response. So that means downloading each document, manually extracting that information that was plugged in through the e-signature request and pushing that into a new report. And as I mentioned, we have a good number of staff that start with us each week. So the more we have, the more evals I have to do, the more time that it took. And again, the process, it wasn't compliant. I was struggling with being able to review this information, extract the data, and get it in on time to the CEO for those reportings that she requested. And it took some time. It definitely took some time. I really estimate, again, this is conservatively, but it was a 3 to 4 hour process each week. And I know I've mentioned this, but this doesn't include the time that I spent worrying about if I was effectively doing my job. And I'm sure you all might have had this a time or two. You're in bed one evening trying to get to sleep, the brain turns on, and immediately you're shooting up thinking, did I send that email? Did I pull that information like I was supposed to? That report's due tomorrow. Got to get up and let's knock it out. Without automation, this was fairly typical. And I didn't like that. As I said, I really put a lot of emphasis on that efficiency and trying to make my job as easy as possible. So moving on.
I love your curiosity too, and your desire to fix problems. Right? It doesn't matter what platforms you're using. There's always going to be these little nuances, right? That can use a little fix. And so I love the way that you have found some stuff. So maybe walk us through the automated process that you have now.
So glad you asked. Before I dive into this specific process with automating these 30-day evals, as we mentioned, I had to talk about how I got there, which is that curiosity. We made the switch from your typical Office 2016 or whichever version it was to Office 365 back in 2019. And as the Office techie guy, my coworkers' words, not mine, I had asked IT if I could check out some of these applications that are available in Office 365. I'd heard about Microsoft Teams in the past. I know that Microsoft has a variety of applications. So they gave me access. And this is when I found out about Power Automate, which screenshot showing you here. I was looking at Power Automate because I had these ideas about ways that I could create workflows that I didn't have to touch, that would just automatically do what I needed to do. And from there, I just started browsing. I got curious. I started looking through these templates, and as you can see, I have data collection right here pulled up. When I saw data collection, I was like, oh my gosh, this would be perfect for some 30-day evals that I'm sending out and I'm not being compliant on. So I just started playing around. I started browsing around, and I found one that had Microsoft Forms to Excel, and then another one that was Microsoft Forms to Microsoft List. And it was that curiosity that helped me find my way to these automations. That and a lot of Googling and the utilization of Microsoft Learn. And then once these learning language models started coming up, utilizing those AI resources too. And Mo, I do want to mention, I just saw your comment in the chat. From my understanding, Zapier is in that same breath as Power Automate. So that can be used as for those workflows and automations as well. Sorry for that little segue there. With the Microsoft Learn platform, with Power Automate now, and the updates that Microsoft has done regarding Copilot, we talk about AI. That's the awesome thing about it, is that now in Power Automate, you can actually use Copilot as you're setting up your flows. You can go in there and type in what you want it to do, what solution you want to accomplish, and it'll actually give you a recommended flow and will pull these pieces up.
For those who don't know what Copilot is, do you want to just give them a quick?
Yeah. So Copilot, in my interpretation, is Microsoft's version of AI. It's their Gemini, it's their Chat GPT, and us being a Microsoft Office shop here at Community Counseling Center, thankfully I've got a little Copilot icon right here on the bottom of my taskbar. So I am definitely using that daily, and it has been a huge resource for me when trying to develop these workflows as well.
And so Jake's like I'm calling you an expert because you've done all this before. So, in the Microsoft, I'm sure there's other solutions in the Google realms that you could probably find too. But we're going to keep going through this. But if you want to connect ever with Jake, you can do it in that HR Heroes Slack channel, and he can talk you through some of this stuff. But let's keep going. All right. Sorry.
Yeah, for sure. So I wanted to give just a brief overview of what a flow looks like whenever it's set up. So again, using Power Automate, this is a workflow application in the most basic sense that's available on the Microsoft Office 365 platform. And for 30-day evals, I essentially have a survey link set up within an onboarding task for our new employees. That onboarding task gets sent over to them 7 days before their 30-day anniversary. They complete the survey, and then Power Automate walks through these steps that you see here. Now, we are going to talk a little bit more detail about this. So going ahead and moving on, this is the generic survey that I send out. So send the survey, employee answer these questions. Takes around 8-ish minutes at the most to complete these. And upon finishing the survey, it will then trigger the flow. What do I mean by flow? So this is what it looks like when you're setting up in Power Automate. So essentially what happens is we have our trigger. So the trigger is when a new response is submitted to our first 30-day evaluation. Power Automate is then going to grab the list of responses and get these response details. So it's going to tell us, we're going to tell Power Automate what the form is, first 30-day evaluation, and those list of responses. Now it goes a little bit deeper than that though. After we get that list of responses, I actually like to get more information about the employee. And again, this is part of our section 3 when we talk about integrations, but we are able to pull information from Okta. which syncs and uses BambooHR as the record keeper. So with that Okta integration, it pulls the information from the employee's profile. So we have the responder's email here, which is telling Power Automate, hey, I need to get John Doe's information. We're then going to capture the manager information by using the employee's email address, and we're going to update that list item that we have. All these survey responses, they're going to Microsoft List, which just allows me to easily view each response in a card format. You can use this for Microsoft Excel. You can have it sent to Google Sheets, Google Docs. And there's a lot of different use cases as far as where you want that information stored. But again, I want to see who their manager is, and we're going to update that within the card. After it's run through these and updated that information, now I want to find out what the survey responses were. So this is where the create item comes in, and this is one of the really important pieces to this Power Automate flow. It's going to, I'm going to tell it where I want this information stored, the name of the list it's being stored in, and then basically we're playing a matching game. The nice thing about Power Automate, and since it has my list of responses, all it is a matching game. So I'm going to come in here, I'm going to put in the submission time, what their email is, hire date, job title, and then the answers to the various questions they had on the survey. Now, once Power Automate has rolled through this list, it's captured all those survey responses, put it on my Microsoft list that I have, I then want to share this information. This is where that time savings also jumps in for me, because I did struggle with being able to pull all this data out and then send that over to the supervisor or to their supervisor, so that way they can see just how this employee is doing. So that's where this next step comes in, because not only do I want to send this to the hiring manager, to the supervisor, I feel it's important to also include their supervisor too, not only to address any issues as they may come up, but more importantly, to highlight and to really recognize when a manager is doing well with an employee. You know, we talk about having employees and then the recognition they need to receive, but I feel it's just as important to also really recognize whenever a supervisor is helping this new hire feel comfortable, feel confident in their job, and I guess a slight plug, setting them free to do their best work, you know, in that position we've hired them for. So we pull in the supervisor's supervisor here. I want to grant access to the list item that was created. So again, the whole point of this flow is so that way we have it in a nice, easy to see format. Now, this is a really important piece though, because we have the recipients here, and these two fields are the manager and their manager. But it's important that we set up the appropriate access level, because the number one thing I would not want to have happen is to grant access to one supervisor so they can see every staff member's 30-day evaluation. Not secure by any means. So you do have to ensure you set this up as a can view access level. That's all we want, can view, and specific to this survey response or ID. Now, after I grant access to this item, I need to let them know about it. So send them an email. That's the last part of this flow. I send an email to the supervisor, and the supervisor put in the subject line title, which is the employee's name, has submitted a 30-day eval, and it's going to include a link for them to click, and it'll take them directly to it. Can't see anybody else's. I do want to mention, since we are providing this view access though, and granting them access to these individual 30-day evaluation responses, it does compile. So if I have Supervisor Susie, who has hired 3, 4, 5 people over the past 6 months, she can actually see all of those 30-day evaluations for her staff, but wouldn't be able to see anybody else's. Now, that was a very, very quick overview of a Power Automate flow and how I created this for my 30-day evaluations. Actually, because of the success with the 30-day evals, I ended up creating new ones for 60-day evaluations, 90-day evaluations, and we'll talk a little bit more in a moment about some exit interviews too.
Now that you've done these time-saving automations, what do you think the time is that you've saved?
Yeah, easily 2 hours every week. Because again, with the amount of staff that we hire at Community Counseling Center, I'm doing orientations every Monday. So pretty well every Monday, we're going to hit a 30-day eval that would need to be sent out. So not only am I saving time there, I'm saving a ton of time from having to manually pull out this information from these PDFs that are done through e-signatures, and also extracting it and being able to report on it. Instead of having to manually copy and paste or manually pull out a screenshot and extract the text, heck, if I want to, I can put it to Excel, and then even the other day, I can copy paste these into, again, Copilot, Gemini, ChatGPT. Can you run a quick sentiment analysis on these survey responses over my 30-day evals? So that's, again, using AI in order to help me save time with these automations. But again, 2 hours every week, I'd say, is an easy amount of time saved. And I'm going to harp on this a lot today, but also the time saved in not worrying about it when I'm at home as well.
Yeah. Love that AI tip and the ease of, or de-stress, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's awesome. So we're going to go into part 3 here. Let us know how we're doing. Give us a thumbs up if you're liking it so far. Let's look at the second automation you've done outside of Bamboo. And this is very similar to the 30-day evaluations for new hires. Walk us through how you did exit interviews before your automation.
Yeah, so again, really similar process. We were using a PDF, an e-signature document within Bamboo, and this was tied into the offboarding tasks. So of course, if you're familiar with offboarding tasks in BambooHR, and if you're not, stick with me. Whenever we go and have somebody who resigns from their position, I will initiate the resignation process within Bamboo. After initiating the resignation and putting that date in, jump over to offboarding and then assign those tasks to the relevant staff members in billing, accounts payable, HR, IT. But also we had a task specific to the staff member who was leaving. We wanted to hear, what was the reason? Why were they leaving? Ask those questions so that way we can improve upon them. So fairly straightforward on that end. Again, we send over this PDF. Yeah. They go in and answer the questions as typical. Once they finish up this document, it then gets sent to our HR director, who receives the questionnaire for review to send any particular information to our CEO to address issues that come up. However, with exit interviewing, we also want to ensure that we're reporting and analyzing this data. And with e-signatures within BambooHR, they're saved as PDFs. So to analyze each of these responses and to put them into our quarterly reporting, all of these answers had to be manually extracted, manually put into Excel. The comments and whys and all the information had to be pulled out by hand, put into or reviewed, then put into a new report to be given to our CEO for each quarter. So similar to the 30 days, a lot of that hands-on work and manual time spent in pulling out this information or extracting the data from our exit interview questionnaires.
Well, the time savings on this one, what did you get?
4 hours every quarter, because with the time cost here, if we saw an issue right offhand to where somebody submitted their exit interview, it was like, oh, we got to address this, we could easily pull out that PDF and just send it directly to our CEO. But it came to a lot of time whenever we were doing these for our quarterly reporting. And yeah, easy 4 hours spent on just pulling out the various terminations or resignations, that happened within the quarter. And again, extracting the data, manually tallying and creating the charts, doing a very brief sentiment analysis, which is just me reading and trying to determine the trends, and then sending it over. So yeah, easy 4 hours every quarter. So that was half a day spent on just trying to pull out this information to prep for the report that we had to provide to our CEO.
Love it. So now walk us through how you created the automation and what it looks like now.
Yeah, so the great thing about Power Automate is it does allow you to copy existing flows that you have. So I started out with that. with the exit interviews, to where I used that same formula, that same process when it came to the 30 days, but I found it wasn't quite as effective for me with the exit interviews, because if you notice from that screenshot of the PDF, there's more options for people to select. There's more multi options that people could click as far as the reason why they left or some of those factors that attributed to the resignation. So I found that whenever I initially did this flow, when the answers for those multi-selection checkboxes were being pushed into my list, it didn't work out. It was all jumbled together. I couldn't figure out what was going on with it. So that's when I turned to Copilot. I turned to Chat GPT, these AI tools, because I was scratching my head. I did some Googling from the Microsoft support side, and I found some information, but it didn't really answer what I needed to do in order to separate these reasons for separation out. And you may be able to see on your screen this first purple, the reason for separation. By using these AI tools, I essentially just told the system, like, I want you to act as a Power Automate specialist. You are knowledgeable in all things Microsoft Power Platform, Power Automate, and I have some questions for you. And I asked, how can I separate these multi-selection checkboxes out? And it gave me the response. It gave me what I needed to put into my Power Automate flow, what trigger, what action. And that's where these purple pieces come in, because it allowed me to set it up to where whenever it transferred over to my list, it had reason for separation being pay as a nice little circle icon, and then another one for, if they left because of family reasons or whatever the case is. Now, looking at this one specifically, we're still going in that same aspect, that same mindset. When a new response is submitted, we're going to get those response details. This reason for separation, it essentially just breaks up each reason into its own separate piece. Figuring out who in the world submitted this. We're going to create the item and list, get the supervisor, update that information. Again, initialize variable, so that way we ensure that we have each of those checkboxes broken up into individual pieces. And get item is going to be how we're going to send this information to the relevant individuals. Now, if you notice, I don't have an email in here. Instead, I'm using Microsoft Teams. Microsoft Shop, we use Teams pretty frequently. So we have two different messages that are being sent out. And these are happening in tandem. So these are happening at the same time, to where my HR director and supervisor, she will get notification when an exit interview is completed, and it includes a link to take her directly to that interview response. I'm going to get one as well. And we also have a secondary that goes to our HR compliance specialist too. So that way she can review that information for her reporting, because she is pulling their data out. So that way we can report on those each quarter. So this is just, again, a very brief look when it comes to that exit interview time savings, exit interview flow.
Love it. We have a question in here saying, can you share the code to Power Automate tool? I was going to say connect with you on HR Heroes Slack channel. Is that the best way?
Yeah, absolutely. You'll find me there in HR Heroes. You can also @ me while in there, and my name should pull up, and I'd be happy, to send the information over to you.
And just a reminder, in the docs tab is where you can find the link to that HR Heroes Slack channel. Cool. So let's talk about time savings again.
Yeah. So easy, we're only spending about 90 minutes or saving 90 minutes every quarter here. This should be a little bit higher, actually, now that I think about it, because in reality, this process these days, the process takes about 30 to 45 minutes in total to export all of our exit interviews for a quarter into Excel, or if you're familiar, using Power BI as another tool too. Run a quick analysis, and then we do have a Word document that we're using as far as doing our reports for each quarter. So we just plug in that information. Now, if I was a little bit more knowledgeable in some VBA and some of those more macros within Word and Excel, I'm sure I could automate this down even further. But I mean, going from 4 hours down to 30 minutes, for these, I'd say we're looking at easy 90 minutes of savings every quarter and a good 6 hours every year. But again, in reality, we have so much better access to this data than we did before, and the benefits to having this access are greater than the time savings, to be quite honest, because we can make those changes faster when we see them.
Nice. And Charlotte has a question. You know,
Mhm.
let's say they weren't doing much of this at all, and is there some steps they could take in Bamboo HR to have some automations around this area? Um,
Approvals. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off
oh,
there,
you're
but
good.
that was the
It's
first thing that
perfect.
came to mind.
So
Yeah.
approvals, anything else? I mean, any additional information on approvals you'd give, or just have them look that up and
I, I would just
I'll look at
encourage looking up, going to the actually to HR, the learning piece, the support for Bamboo HR and the learning. Oh my goodness, functionality
it.
that you all have in the support side. But even on that end too, I feel that utilizing email alerts, pushing these into your onboarding tasks as well can be really beneficial. And that's how, even with surveys, you can pull SurveyMonkey, Microsoft Forms, again, whatever survey tool you might use now. Take the link, toss it into an onboarding task for your new hires. You could even set it up as a document or as e-signature that you send out, and they can copy and paste it in. I do feel that there are some options out there, even if you're not using the various automation systems that are available. Because I know, again, cost times that also comes into play too.
Love it. Okay, I'm supposed to kick off this next section, but my screen slides are here, so I'm going to have you help me kick it off.
Gotcha. Yeah, so for this one, we want to talk a little bit about employee notifications. So this is more so about reminding employees about certain benefits, about utilizing time off, birthday time off. So we do have some of these various benefits that are available. Specifically, staff can take off for their birthday. During their birthday month, they get a free company paid day of ETO or earned time off. We also had to send out information about Employee of the Quarter, reminding staff to nominate their employees for Employee of the Quarter, those coworkers, and also sending reminders about new job openings and employee referrals. Prior to setting up this automation we're going to talk about, these were all manual processes too. And again, with anything manual, remembering to go and send them out is definitely a piece, because we're spending a good amount of time. All these emails, all these reminders. I mean, it was using up a good amount of time before these automations were implemented. With Employee of the Quarter, we're spending probably 2 hours total every quarter. Time off reminders, easily maybe an hour every week, every other week. Employee referral emails took up a lot of time as well. So again, being a little maybe conservative, we'll say 2.5 hours every week as far as remembering to send out these notifications. And again, instead of having to go in, remember what I need to send, or just completely forgetting, I set up an automation. So similar to doing. Sorry, Mike.
I was just going to say, let's see what the automation looks like. And just as a heads up, we got like 10 minutes left. So
yeah. So with these, we'll do it really quick. Want to be mindful of our time for sure. You can set up, instead of automated and action-based flows in Power Automate, you can set up recurrences as well. So one of these is going to be the employee referral and new opportunities that we have. So set up a recurrence and send an email. 2 steps, easy peasy. On the parameters, you can set up how often you want to send it. So for this one, I send it once a week on Mondays at 7:30 a.m. every single week. Might get a little old, but again, we're ensuring we're getting that information in front of the staff members. And here's the email that we're sending. I can designate it to be sent to all users. The subject is going to be agency openings and employee referral reminder. Give them the link, give them the information, save it, and send it. Now, another good use for AI here. I had to use this because I don't know much, if anything, about HTML. Don't know how to code. Not my strong suit necessarily. So I did use AI and these chatbots in order to figure out, how do I set this up so that way it doesn't look like a plain text email. And we do a lot of email security and phishing training here. So I had to ensure it actually looked okay. So I did use AI and asked, hey, I need to send this email out to staff. Can you format this in a way and provide me with the HTML code that I would need to use so it looks good? And thankfully, it gave me exactly what I needed, so it didn't look like a robot sent it out. And this is the last little bit. You can actually send or designate who you send it from. So I have it send as my email address. And if somebody replies to it, though, it gets sent over to our employment mailbox. So a group mailbox that both myself and my recruiting assistant have access to. So we can each manage any referral questions that come through. Now, on one of the other email, oh my goodness, automations that I have set up, I actually have the birthday ETO reminder set up as it's sent from our HR email address here at CCC. Granted, the first few times I got sent, I had a lot of questions asking if it was a phishing attempt because they had never seen the HR email address send an email before. But now, again, every month, at the beginning of the month, I send this email out reminding staff, hey, you have birthday ETO that's going to be used. Be sure you use it or you do lose it. So this is just another one of those examples as far as sending out automation or using automations for those email alerts that might be without or outside of BambooHR.
Love it. So you got some more time savings here for us?
Yeah, 2 hours every week. I think that's the easiest way to put it. We're sending it out automatically. I don't have to touch it. And the fun thing too is seeing these emails come back to me if somebody replies and they say, oh, thanks for sending out that reminder. You know, I completely forgot until I got that. Or even with the 30 days, having a supervisor email me and say, oh, thanks so much for sending me over this list and the survey response. And, you're welcome. Have a good day. But in my mind, I'm just thinking, yeah, it took me probably 2 years ago or so, because I haven't touched that. I haven't had to actually manually send those out. So yeah, I would say 2 hours every week and just not having to remember to send out email notifications.
What do you do with all your extra time?
So always a word of caution. When you free up work time, it is very easy for all that free time to be taken up by something else. But in reality, though, it does give me the opportunity to do webinars like these, to be able to participate in the HR Heroes Slack channel. But I think more importantly for me, it allows me to get home more quickly. It gives me that work-life balance because this isn't just time saved at work, but time saved at home. That mental burden has been lifted with some of these projects, and I don't have to worry about sending that email, and I can focus on spending that time and having fun with my boys. So that's really important for me, but it does allow me to do other work projects too. As an example, back in June, I was able to host a conversation with some of our other clinicians and talk about men's mental health and upload that to our company YouTube channel. So again, it saves that time, but it can easily be replaced by other things too.
I hope Jake and the modules in this course overall have inspired you to explore all the ways AI can make your HR work even more impactful. And remember, the right way to use AI is whatever way works best for your processes and your company values and mission. To get even more resources on how to grow your skills and support your business, check out BambooHR's AI resources. And if you want to get more advice from Jake and other fellow HR pros, you can sign up through the HR Heroes community page. Time for me to say goodbye and for you to make more HR magic happen. Of all the cheap tricks.
10 easy magic tricks you can do at home.
Okay, so first you hide the coin. BambooHR's all-in-one software makes your life easier and helps you take your HR game to the next level. So, be sure to check out our additional content and resources below.